Hello and welcome. This is episode 1 of Let's Make the MiG Growl, and I am Bogey. Well, today we're gonna at least try to learn to fly the MiG-20, no, MiG-21, sorry, MiG-15, and we're gonna try to master the plane together in a series of episodes. So we will try to, learn to start it up, take off, and do all the procedures which I have documented. And then we're gonna try to actually go into more serious trouble with it, such as combat operations. I have the MiG here I think I'm at Kobuleti Airport. There you go. This is the MiG-15. If you want to read about it more, I will most definitely put a link in the background, so you will be able to at least know what's going on. And where does this plane come from? It's one of the first jet fighters in the post-World War II era. It participated in the Korean War, where it squared off against the American F-86 Sabre. To my shame, I forget who the F-86 Sabre's manufacturer was, but this plane was designed by the Mikoyan Design Bureau, and it's the successor of the MiG-9, if I remember right. As you can see, it's a sweep wing, high tail profile with the back slightly lower to the ground. It's, I think, powered by a VK1 turbojet engine with a single-stage compressor. Well, that's already technical stuff that I don't really remember. As you can see, Belsim Tech did an awesome job with the plane. I mean, the details are just amazing. This is an older module, but I like what they did with it, and it still looks great. So let's go jump into the office, aka the cockpit, and I'll give you a quick rundown of what's what. Now, I'm not that familiar with all the systems yet. It's a very simple plane compared to other stuff in DCS, like the A-10 or the upcoming F-18, but it has its charm being mostly a pilot's airplane rather than, computerized marvel of engineering. So, if we start from the left and right, here we have a radio receiver. We have also a transmitter on the other side. Now, these can be on two different frequencies. A first aid kit, air conditioning unit, flare launcher, throttle, flaps lever. Here we have the fuel shutoff lever, the throttle friction. No, this is the hydro booster. Sorry, I know this does come with a throttle friction as well. These are the aileron trimmer. It only supports aileron trims. This is a fuel panel, oxygen, landing gear, oxygen valve indicator, NDB system, cannon load system, speed, altitude, gyro horizon, chronometer, altitude in meters. Again, it's Mach number. This is the fuel indicator, variometer. This is how it's called on Russian planes. Radio compass. This is basically the NDB in modern planes. RPM indicator, EGT, electrical, amps and volts, so amps, volts on the upper layer, compass, pressure indicators, cockpit altitude, and here we have another pressure indicator. And on the left side here we have the fuses, all sorts of indicators for hydraulics. Here we have the Arc 5. This is the predecessor to the Arc 9 that the MiG-21 uses. And these are the ultraviolet light rheostats, pressurization, cockpit air valve, and radio transmitter. Here we have a bag, I don't know what the purpose of it, and other controls. Of course, we have the stick, rudder pedals. Here we have the armament control panel, so we have drop tanks, we can arm the bombs, prepare the guns, and so on. And drop tank, signal switch, of course we can also deal with the drop tank. Here we have marker, the marker indicator, flaps, generator off, 300 liters, so this is kind of a bingo fuel. We cannot set the bingo fuel in this plane. After engine start, ignition goes off. We have the gun sight, the compass, cage, uncaged mode for this, ventilation system, and this is closed, but anyway. Here are the instrument light panels and so on. Now, I've already taken the liberty to connect ground power and place the wheel chocks, because those are needed. And the first thing we're going to do, since if we're going to look here, we have the landing gear lights on, so we are receiving electrical power to the plane. We are going to test this electrical panel, and we're at exactly 24 volts, which should be right. Then we're going to connect the electrical fuses. Well, let's see if we can. I think get you to see all of them, so like this. So we're going to connect the generator, radios, artificial horizon, the trimmer, emergency drop tank switches. We do not need, but we're going to turn off the ADF, radio altimeter, the gun sight, and the gun camera. We will not engage anything related to the aircraft's weaponry. So we have those on. Next we are going to the flow regulator here. This is already open. I left it open since the last time. Next we are going to check the supply valve, the emergency supply valve, to see if that opens. Yep, it works. Then we're going to turn this counterclockwise and open the oxygen supply valve. This should be opening and closing now. The diluter valve is here, that's open. Fuel shut-off lever is located, you will see it here. This can go up or down. All the way down it's open, all the way up is closed. So if we can actually check it here. Closed and there we go. Now we put it back to closed. Okay. And then we're going to go to the left side electrical panel. We have another one. So we need to turn the following things on: booster pump, ignition, solenoids, engine instruments, second pump tank. And if we look at this, we have 1050 liters, which is correct. That's our total fuel capacity. Throttle is fully at idle. It should be there. Next we're going to open the engine start button. The engine start is actually here, and we're gonna check it out. We're gonna need to check out the RPM. So this is the RPM indicator, as I mentioned. So when this reaches 600, we're going to move the shut-off valves to the medium position. Fuel. EGT should not extend. 650 degrees. And the temperature should not exceed 510 degrees. Yep, this is 2400 to 2600 RPM. So the engine is now in idle. We've started the engine successfully. Then we're going to check these instruments. They appear to be in order. We have the wheel chocks placed. Okay, then we need to check engine operation. So we're going to check the isolation valve on. Isolation valve off. Then we're going to set the engine to about 6,500 RPM. We have wheel chocks, so I'm not concerned about that, about the plane just bolting off. Keep it there. Then we're going to turn around and check the isolation valve. Then we're going to turn that off. Then we're going to push the power all the way up. $11,800, temperature 690, fuel pressure in the injectors 45, that's good. Engine is now idle. Temperature EGT is about 500 degrees, which is good. Then we're going to the flaps lever, which is here, and we're first going to extend it to 20 degrees. There's an indicator here on the wing. Then finally we're going to drop that to 55 degrees, which is the landing setting. See, it goes up. That's our cue that this is working. And also the flaps light, which is located here, is on. Then we're going to move here, and we're going to move this neutral and fully up. I'm going to check on the wings, the flaps have retracted. Then we're going to test the air brakes. Lights should come on. Let's see if we can see the air brakes from here. No, we cannot. No, we can see them from the outside. They open, and then when we release the button, they close. Finally, we're going to close the canopy. Oxygen supply valve is open. Let's pressurize the cockpit. This doesn't have automatic pressurization, so let's set that up. Alright, let's unlock the landing gear. Yeah, you can see this can be locked. We unlock the landing gear lever, and we will ask the ground crew to finally remove the ground electric power. And we're going to remove the wheel truss. Okay, perfect. So these guys have done their job. These guys have definitely done their job. And let's see. Next we need to extend our flaps to 20 degrees, which is the takeoff setting for this aircraft. Then we're going to push the brakes to maximum, and we're going to increase the RPM to about 10,000 to see if the brakes hold. This is basically the wheel brake test. the wheel brake should hold. Then we're gonna reduce again to about 4,000 RPM. Now if I let them go, basically the plane will just bolt, but yeah, 4 to 5,000 RPM. Alright, this plane uses differential braking. We're going to increase the RPM now to about 6,000. We're gonna be careful so it doesn't bolt too much. We went a bit overboard with the RPM. We should be around 6,000. As you can see, I'm actually not using rudder pedals. I'm using, of course, wheel brakes, but left and right wheel brakes. The rudder is not used on the ground because this plane does not have a turning nose wheel. We're going quite slowly right now. It's about maybe 20 kilometers an hour. Now I'm gonna trim off the speed, trim a little bit of the top speed here because it has a pretty powerful engine. For an old bird. We're gonna do a nice turn here. And again, we're going to start turning onto the runway very carefully. We're going to try to align with the center. I don't have, by the way, VR headset or track IR, so I'm just cutting off the throttle to about 5,000. I'm stepping on the brakes to bring it to a complete stop. So we have the flaps open at 20. We have the engine started, they're ready to go. We should be asking for permission, but I'm not going to bother with that. And okay, let's see. So for takeoff after taxiing the runway, we need to roll the airplane to a straight line. Once we receive the permission from the ATC, increase the engine RPM to about 8 to 9,000 while holding the brakes. It should hold. Let's go for 9,000 RPM. Last time I tried, it didn't go so well. The brakes are holding, which is very good. And we're going to release the brakes. And when the speed comes up at about maybe 50 to 80 kilometers an hour, now the rudder will be able to handle the steering on the ground. Speed come up 150. and we raise the flaps, so we are flying. Let's try to make it climb a little bit. We are literally going on full steam here. It has no trimmer, so it's all manual. And let's move the flaps to neutral. Landing gear to neutral. The gear is up anyway, so we don't need to do anything else. And here we go. I'm gonna take it for a spin. You, of course, guys can watch me. It's not a big secret. I'm just gonna fly around a little bit. So now, since it's pretty at a pretty decent speed, I'm gonna cut off the throttle. I'm not gonna need to go with full throttle anymore. I'm gonna go at about 10,000 RPM. I guess should be fine. Speed is about 800 kilometers an hour. There's the airfield right behind us. This is not a very fast plane. Don't expect it to be the MiG-21 or a Mirage or what have you, but it's fairly decent. Now I'm actually keeping a small climbing circle here. And I've lost sight of the airfield. My eyesight is not what it used to be actually. I'm doing about 650 kilometers an hour, which is okay. 650 is fine. This plane doesn't really like low speeds, just like the MiG-21. I guess it's pretty characteristic for Russian aircraft to like going faster, at least these older birds. Now I do see a lot of flaws in this plane. I mean, it's not perfect by any means or anything else, but it does okay. Let's go to about 8,500 RPM. We don't need all that speed. I'm going to go over the sea, going to do a turn, and I'm going to try to fly an approach into Kobuleri. Altitude is about 2,000 feet. Actually, 6,000 feet. I apologize, 2,000 meters and going lower. Like most Russian aircraft, this airplane uses metric system, not imperial. Let's try to keep a more shallow descent, the steep one. That should be fine. We're doing about 8,000 RPM. The airfield's right there, so basically I'm flying a pattern here. I did do the tutorial, but I need to practice on my own until I get used to it. This plane actually requires you hands on the controls most of the time, so it's not that easy. It's not anything modern that you might expect. 1,000 meters almost. That's about 3,000 feet.